Ain't nothing else, so we say as young as we are. I want to talk about pronunciation and realization. Now, the educators, ain't nothing else, so we say as young as we are. Thinking, right? I want to talk about some of the people on the cross of pronunciation and realization. Now, the educators, ain't nothing else, so we say as young as we are. But I call what it is, what it is. I want to talk about what it is, what it is. Look at the people on the cross of pronunciation.
Well, good morning. We'll get started here shortly. Oh, good morning. We'll get started here shortly. One second, guys. Oh, good morning. We'll get started here shortly. Okay, I'm trying to see why I'm getting this feedback here. Let me get that cleared up. 1 second, guys. Good morning. All right, I think I got that figured out. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's edition of Saturday School. Let me pop in here right quick and check a couple of things. On my attendees, okay, good. Good morning. It's good to see you, Mom, Michelle, Tia. You guys give me a hands up if I'm coming across clear on Zoom in the Zoom room. You can go ahead and put something in the chat there. If you would, go ahead and do that. Those of you who are on the YouTube channel, good morning. We're still working through this. This is a new platform for me to use. I'm expanding my audience. So if you're on the YouTube this morning, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you make comments, thumbs up, share with other people. Additionally, look in the top section where it has the channel. You can see the about, click the about. It'll take you to the links where if you want to make sure you get the handouts, you join the list. If you want to be supportive of the teachings financially, you can give through YouTube, you can give to PayPal. So that's all I want to say this morning in regards to that. I'm looking here at the chat and see what I got going on. Awesome. Thank you, Minister Tia, for that all clear. Well, good morning. We're going to jump right in. As you see, I'm kind of still got my outside gear on. I was out watering the lawn this morning. So I'm going to get cleaned up after this and hit the streets. It's a beautiful day here in the city of St. Louis. I think I'm going to, they have the Black Taste of St. Louis going on. 3-day event started, I believe, yesterday, and it will culminate on Sunday. So I'm going to either go today or after I leave ministry on tomorrow morning. Well, we've been inside of this book, The Science of Getting Rich. Wow, there you go. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. It has, I think, has 16 chapters in it, and we are at chapter 14, and I may do 14 and 15 today. So if you got a pen, paper, grab it. You don't really have to do that because you can always go back and play it back. So I always say it's good to sit and listen through one time, maybe with a pen or paper just to write any questions or ahas that come to mind. But don't try to keep up with what I'm saying when you can go back and revisit it. So I think you should listen to every teaching at least 3 times through. The first time is when it's live. The second time you're listening to listen again. And then the third time you're going back to see if you have disseminated that information into the place of knowing where you you can repeat it or you know what's coming next. So we're going to get started this morning. I am not on the Facebook page. I'm only entertaining the audience that is inside of the YouTube and the audience that signs up for Zoom. If you're on YouTube, you won't really be able to participate at the same level. Let me take a look out there. Give me a second for you guys who are in the Zoom room, give you a chance to grab a beverage. But let me find the YouTube channel to see what's happening there. 1 second. Okay, let me see if I was on the channel this morning. Okay, the Saturday School is live. Yeah, but let me find. Good. So I turned that down. Let me make good morning, everyone. Okay, so as people begin to populate, they'll see that what's going on there. Good. So let's get started for the sake of time. Awesome. We've been talking about getting rich. Now, some people have a hard time with this kind of conversation for a variety of reasons, many times because of the way we've been taught through our religious teachings, that anything inside of wealth is bordering on sin, or only a few people had wealth, and then so they made sense of it by saying you'll get it when you get to heaven and you'll walk the streets of gold. All of those analogies, but I want mine right here, right now. When you get into the spiritual realm, you don't need material things. When you return to pure energy, return to source, you won't be walking those streets. You won't be dust and clouds. You won't get your wings. All of that stuff that preachers allow to be stated only confuse people. We need to get rid of the statements we make because we tend to lean into them as truths. And we know in reality, why would you displace a angelic being in the heavenly choir? You know, so you're going to come up to the heavenly choir and you're going to be singing in the heavenly choir because you had a beautiful voice on earth. You probably can't even hold light to what they're doing. So some of these things we said are just crazy, but that's a whole nother conversation. As you know, I'm a spiritual scientist. So what I mean by that is I believe spirit is science and science is spirit. And anything that is supposed to be a universal truth can be proved out. The word tells us it rains on the good as well as the bad. And so that means if the children of this world, the worldly children, know how to work the principles, they get the fruit of the principles. Sadly enough, the word also says the children of this world are much wiser. That is, the individuals who are steeped in the world thought, in the way the world is doing things, are much wiser than those who are of the kingdom, because we are deployed in this world, but we still find ourselves working worldly principles. I tell you all the time, I am a spiritual being, a divine spiritual being having a human experience. I am not trying to find myself spiritually. I am not trying to get back to heaven. I am here on assignment just as well as you are. One of the things we're here to do is experience this thing called creation. By us experiencing the sunshine, the sun rays, the breath of fresh air that we breathe every day, this is an opportunity for Source, God, the Creator, to experience its creation through us. We are God's highest crowning specimen that He created. So getting rich. If you want to get rich, you got to be comfortable talking about money. If you want to get rich, you got to be comfortable talking about wealth. If you want to be wealthy, you got to be comfortable operating with a wealthy paradigm and not a paradigm of poverty. We've been steeped so deeply in the paradigm of poverty that when we do amass some levels of wealth, we have to be mindful because we can slip back into those behaviors. We still act as though we have just enough versus staying inside of the mindset that I have more than enough. And so that's something I'm always mindful of. So because it's so easy to slip back. Awesome. Good. So today we're talking about the impression of increase. The impression of increase. We're in chapter 14 of The Science of Getting Rich, Attracting Financial Success through Creative Thought, not competitive thought. And that's what we've been talking about for the last 4 to 5 weeks. We got to move from being competitive, move from labeling ourselves as a competitor, move from competing to move into a state or a mindset of creative, being a creation. So many people are making money hand over foot as creators on YouTube. A lot of things that are going on YouTube is less than desirable, but the fact that they are using this medium to amass wealth, you'd be surprised how much money people are making on YouTube through advertisement, through Patreon, through having links where people can sow into whatever they're doing. But there's a lot of mess out of here, a lot of messages that are mixing people up. So you got to be very careful. I say when you go into YouTube, when you go into any social media, when you go into a place of, let's say you go into a lecture, you should go in with a level of understanding of what it is you're introducing yourself to. Because if you don't have a litmus test, or if you don't have a what I like to call a baseline of knowledge on something, anything someone pours into you, spew to you, you can take it on as, hey, that's truth based on the personality that's given it. So be very careful out there. But I was stating that there's so many platforms that you can create wealth. You can create wealth right now, this very instant. You can get off this call, you can go into your cupboards, you can go into your closet, you can find the things you're not wearing, and you can just hang them outside your house and say, hang a sign for sale. You're creating some wealth. You're creating additional wealth. Many of us are sitting on wealth. And not only are we sitting on wealth inside of the things we have in our homes, in our cupboards, in our storage units that we're not going to ever use again, but we also are sitting on the wealth that we are wealth creators. The word says that God will give you a witty invention, a witty idea that could change your life. You can have one witty idea or conversation that goes viral and it changes your life. So don't limit your ability to amass wealth, to create wealth by the 40 hour, by the TikTok, by the time you put in. That's all well and good, because it's usually pretty easy, or it makes life more comfortable when you have something coming in while you are attempting to be a creator. Because when you are creative to be creative, it takes a level of peace of mind. You know, Maslow's hierarchy, for anyone who's taken a basic psychology class, and Maslow hierarchy, the bottom of that pyramid is the basic needs. And he says, in order for you to self-actualize to the top of the pyramid, to become I am that I am, all that you can be, all that you aspire to, your basic needs have to be met. And too many of us are living our lives inside of hustling for the basic needs to be met. And the word tells us, labor not to get wealth. So it's the labor is talking about is the physicalness. So we start with the creation of wealth by cultivating our thoughts, by understanding that our thoughts are seeds, and these seeds that we think will give fruit. If you're thinking the wrong thoughts, you're going to get the wrong fruit. But it's actually the right fruit, because you're getting in your life what you're asking for. So we need to begin to reformat our thoughts. We need to become more mindful of what we're thinking. We need to know that what we think, so it is. So let's jump right in this morning. That was a long lead in, so I was giving individuals time to grab their refreshing beverage for this morning. So in the 14th chapter, he talks about the impression of increase. The impression of increase, whether you change your vocation or not. Last week we talked about getting into the right business. So he says, whether you change your vocation or not, you must direct your present actions, right? All that matters is right here, right now, to the business in which you are presently engaged. Until you get out of the business that you're engaged in, give your attention to attending to the business you're in. Okay. You can get into the business you want by making constructive use of the business you are already establishing. So you want to start your own business, continue to work, do what you do, and maximize the time you have left over to work your business until you get to the place where your business is increasing and it can carry you. Then you can put that 2-week notice in, but don't just jump out on a limb. Somebody says by faith, I'm just jumping out there. No, that's not by faith. By faith is to say that you have counted the cost. You have did the math. You understand the science. You got the thing set up that needs to be set up. Then you jump out there. He says you can get into the business you want by making constructive use of the business you're already in, by doing your daily work in a certain way, the most perfect way. And insofar as your business consists in dealing with other people, whether directly or by telephone or by social media or by letter, the key thought of all your efforts must be to convey to their minds the impression of increase, that it increases their life in some, whatever good, whatever service that you are offering, you always want to convey that it will present an increase, maybe give them more time, maybe increase the quality of life, but it increases them. Increase is what all men and all women are seeking. Increase, the law of the increase. It is the urge of the formless intelligence within them to find fuller expression. We always trying to be better. That's the increase. And that's because there's something inside of us that says that we can do more, we can be better, it can look better, it can be presented in another way. That's not in a judging way, but it's just your knowingness is I can express in a different way. The desire for increase is inherent in all nature. It is the fundamental impulse of the universe that is life-giving. All human activities are based on the desire for increase. You go to work because of increase. You form a relationship with someone because of increase. You want to increase the possibility of having a certain feeling. You want to feel the oxycontin in your system going forth. All human activities are based on increase. People are seeking more food, more clothes, better shelter, more luxury, more beauty, more knowledge, more pleasure, more life. You're here because you saw the title, The Science of Getting Rich. That is, you want to get more, and that's okay to want more. But you also have to have a point of godly satisfaction where you say, all I have is all I need right now. But until you get there, the desire is moving you to the place. If you have the desire, that means there's a possibility. Now, every living thing is under the necessity. It says every living thing is under that necessity for continuous advancement. If you are not advancing, you're dying. That's the problem with religion. It's don't make space to advance. They believe what they believe based on old information. And even though it's old information, they don't take time to evaluate it against new situations. And so that's why when you read in the Old Testament, the children of Israel did not live in houses that were stationary. They lived in tents for 40 years because he was moving them from this place to that place. And when you get a tent, when you have a tent, you can pack up and move easily. When you have a brick and mortar place, when you have a position, it's difficult to move from that position. That's why if you want to be a student, you always have to be willing to expand beyond what you think you know. Okay, it's when you're willing to go beyond what you think you know, the possibility for you to grow comes forward. Now, where increase of life ceases, dissolution and death sets in at once. Like when you put a person in a nursing home or you put a person in isolation, and if they're not getting stimulus, if they come to the resolve that this is all there is, they resolve themselves to, hey, this is end of life. But we have to begin to know that we got to stay stimulated if we want to continue to have long life. People instinctively know this, and hence they are forever seeking more. The law of perpetual increase is set forth even when we look at the teachings of Jesus in the parable of the talents. Only those who gain more retain any, from which who hath not shall be taken away, even from that which. You remember the law of the talents, and when the when the individual who had given them the talents came back and see what they had done with the talents, and one had hid the talents and justified hiding the talents because of the fear they was inside of. I don't want to lose this what I have. And many of us live with God in the same way, with the fear. And so we're just focusing on staying alive. So we're focusing on trying to get somewhere instead of being where we are. So we see here, I got an itchy nose here today. So we see here that in this particular parable, the individual who was given the talent and buried it, didn't do anything with it, actually was chastised. And at the end of that story, it says, those who have will take it, have not, will, that if you have little, it's going to be taken from you and given to those with much. And you may say, that's terrible. No, it's not terrible. You have to learn how to use what's in your hand. You have to learn how to use what you have. You say, well, when I get more, I'll do more. No, when you get more, you will do exactly what you're doing right now. You got to learn to do with what you have, what you will do with it when you get more. Now, that's what I'm saying to you. Like example, when we talk about the old principle that we talk about the law of giving, that the tenth, a tenth is this. If you get $30 a week and you give $3, that's the same as you get $3,000 a week and you give $300. So guess what? If you're not able to give $3 off the $30, there's no way in hell you're going to give 300 off of 3,000. You're probably going to keep doing what you're doing. So we have these people that talk about the you don't give offerings or tithes anymore. And down they got the new patron thing, just give $5. So they are dumbing down a principle. The principle is that to whom much is given, much is required. So you can't expect to give $3 if you have 3,000 and get the same blessing as the person who gives $3 off their $30. No, you don't get what they get. They're going to be exceedingly blessed, far and above you. Now, I'm not saying that to advocate that you all give me anything, but I am saying I'm setting the record straight. I have integrity. Okay. I'm not saying that because I have passing a hat. I'm saying if you want to operate in the science of getting wealth, you got to operate like wealthy people operate. Now, he goes on, he says, in following the certain way, as described in the foregoing pages, what we've talked about, you are getting continuous increase for yourself. You are giving it to all with whom you deal. You are a creative center from which increase is given off to all. Be sure of this and convey assurance of this fact to every man, woman, and child with whom you come in contact. No matter how small the transaction, even if it's only selling a stick of candy to a little child, put into this action the thought of increase and make sure the customer is impressed with this thought. They want to walk away feeling like value added, made the right decision. I was not manipulated. I was not influenced to buy something that I didn't want to buy. But I walk away a day later. When I wake up, I say, this was a good purchase. This was a good investment, because you see the increase that it has for your life. He says, convey the impression to those you're selling things to, those you're giving things to, those you're delivering services to. Convey the impression of advancement with everything you do, so that all people shall receive the impression that you are an advancing man or woman, and that you advance all who deal with you. And that's what I want to present. I want individuals who interact with me on a micro level, that is in a one-on-one coaching counseling session. The C is not the dollar amount I'm in desire of, but it's the interaction, to see that there's a value add. When I engage people, I want to give them my attention. I'm working oftentimes with homeless veterans. I treat them the way I want to be treated. I want them to leave my presence not feeling as though they were less than me. They are not their predicaments. So I'm mindful of that. Any engagement someone has with me, I want to lead them to lead with increase. I try to smile. I try to give words of encouragement. I try to give instructions. Sometimes the instructions is a hard lesson. If you're delivering a service to me and it's not the standard that I live by, I'm going to let it be known. And I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to say it in a demeaning way, but I'm going to ask, would you have liked someone to give you that in the same manner you gave me? And sometimes people get upset and offended with that, but I put something on their mind. It's not what you say, but how you say it. He says, also give people who you meet socially the thought of increase. You can convey this impression by holding the unshakable science or faith that you are in the way of increase and letting this faith inspire, feel, and permeate every action. That's why I try to keep my car clean. I try to look appropriate wherever I go. I don't go nowhere looking like a bum. And because when I engage someone, I want them to see wealth. I want them to see increase. I want them to see intentional. They make, why are you out here looking like this? Hey, first of all, this is who I am. I am a grown man. I'm not going to be walking around with my pants sagging behind. I'm 61 years old. I don't care how stylish it is. I'm going to have on a belt. Now I wear some gym shoes because they're more stylish, but usually I will have what the kids call hard sole shoes, and I have them shined up. I'm coordinated because you never know. You can only make one impression, and if you look good, you can make somebody else feel good because they have the desire to look like that. Maybe not just like you, but to show up in that way. There was men in my community when I was a kid that influenced me 40 years later. They show me an adult male shows up in a certain way, okay, not looking any old kind of way. Now, that's for somebody. Your presence can give the essence of increase. It can inspire. So everything you do every action should be permeated with excellence, with increase, with expanding yourself or someone. Do everything that you do in the firm conviction that you are an advancing personality. Say that right now. I am an advancing personality. That's right. Say it with me. Give me some thumbs up. Type it in there. Type it in there in the chat box. I am an advancing personality. Say that. Stand on that. Okay. And that you are giving advancement to everyone you encounter. Feel that you are getting rich, and that in doing so, you are making others rich, that you are conferring benefits of all. You're not just giving and you're not just receiving, but you are doing both, giving and receiving. That's the cultivating of the harvest. I am an advancing personality. That's right. Miss Atkins, put it there. That's right. Do that. Let me see what's happening here on Facebook, not Facebook, but in the chat room here. Okay. Mike Burns, good to see you. Great lesson, PG. All right. See, that's advancing. That makes me feel good. And I'm sure that what Mike on Facebook is getting is advancing him. I'm glad you tuned in this morning. Make sure you hit like. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share it with other people. Now, let's move it on. He says, now, this is important. Do not brag or boast of your success or talk about it unnecessarily. Okay, now, first of all, don't let people throw shade on you because you're showing up in your brilliance. Okay, just because I show up in a clean car, dressed to the nines, I'm not bragging. I'm being my best self. Now, sometimes your best self will cause others to be not shamed, but be pricked. Instead of focusing on, I should have shown up in my best self today too, they defer to focusing on you throwing shade. But if your light shines, shade cannot manifest. Did you know that? Light is stronger than shade. So the shade only shows up when you acknowledge that it's there. But if you keep looking and moving in the right direction, the shade that people throw to you won't affect you. As a matter of fact, when they're throwing shade and those who value you are around them, they'll say, you got the wrong interpretation. That's your issue, not his issue. So Do not brag or boast of your success or talk about it unnecessarily. There's times when you need to talk about it. Example, with my grandchildren, I talk about my success. I don't boast about it, but I tell them how I got where I've gotten. I tell them the missteps that I have made or the mistakes that I have made. I'm not ashamed of it. For every setback was a setup for me to come up. And I want my young people, those are my greatest students right now, my babies, my grandchildren. I am so excited to see them grow. I'm wondering who will advance this beyond what I know. So like my library, all those things, I value them. I make sure I cultivate my library, get rid of things that are won't help them. Because one day when I'm transitioning out of here, I want my babies to get my books. Okay. And because so many of the things that I have are out of print, and I want them to see that this is how grandpa got where he got to, not just through the books, because I've yet to write my own book, but that's coming. So don't brag or boast. True faith is never boastful. But sometimes people will, when you're telling them the principles, like on Facebook, sometimes people say you're boasting, you're bragging. No, I'm inspiring. I'm showing somebody who is looking on my page that source is no respecter of person. That's why I show when I have had dry seasons and when they may have never saw the dry season, but I communicated I was in a dry season, but you never knew it. Because I'm not my situation. I'm not my circumstance. But when I was in a dry season, I did let some people see it because I want them to see this is the jumping off point. I want you to watch. Look right here. I have little or nothing. I have lost everything. Watch me. Watch me work. Watch me use the principles. We have so many people espousing things and never have applied those things. But I can say, I know how, I've had little and I know what it's like to have much. And I always prefer to have much because when you have much, you have more. And when you have more, you can be more attentive to what you want to do versus what you need to do. You're not just inside of survival. He says, whenever you find a boastful person, you find one who is secretly doubtful and afraid. Simply feel the faith and let it work out in every transaction. Let every act and tone and look express the quiet assurance that you are getting rich. Let everything you do give the quiet assurance. So if you're on a paper route, if you are working at what appears to be a menial job, there was a season in my life where, I had kind of, things have kind of went in another direction. And I was a entrepreneur, a solopreneur. It wasn't happening. Nothing was coming in. So I had to do what I had to do. I took a job at a local storage company. I'm not going to give them any kind of press because they're not pressing me financially in any way either. So, but I had to took this job. And inside that job, at first when I took the job, I felt a little ashamed. I didn't want really anybody to know I was doing it. But then I said, look, this is where I'm at right here. And where I'm at right here don't define who I am or where I'm going to be. So I worked that job and I became one of the best salespersons in that job. And then I remember I was doing the job. So sometimes you'll know who you're dealing with. So the general manager came into the store, and I was at a remote store. And when he came into the store, he noticed that there was a piece of cardboard taped above my head to the there was a vent. And he just automatically jumped up on the desk, pulled this off, and he said, "Who put this up here?" And I said, "I did." He said, "You can't put this up." I said, "Let me explain something to you. As long as I'm working here, my health comes first. That fan is going directly on me, and I don't want it like that. I can't present my best self like that." And so he said, "You can't put it up." Then I said, "You know what? Cool." And so I finished my shift and I quit the job. I told him, because first of all, I'm not going to do anything that compromises who I am for money. I'm not going to make you money at my expense. And I was one of your top salesmen. You don't know who you're dealing with. I didn't have to do that. I could apply for his job. I just didn't want to be a general manager. I didn't want that headache. So I'm saying this to say, you got to know who you're dealing with and deal with people the way you want to be dealt with. Now, let every act and tone and look express the quiet assurance that you are getting with you rich. You are already rich. check that out. He says, let every act and tone and look express the quiet assurance that you are getting rich, that you are already rich. They're operating at the same time. I'm getting rich, I'm on my way to richness, and I'm already rich. Because of I'm already rich, I'm moving in that direction. I'm taking the right steps, the right action. Words will not be necessary to communicate this feeling to others. People just know. People, it was times when I didn't have a pot or a window. You know, I know how that saying, a pot to put it in or a window to pour it out, or 2 pennies to rub together. But nobody never knew it because I always carry myself. Now, some people may have known it because they were up close and personal. But even in that, I never presented myself as, hey, I'm at the end of my rope, I'm down, and I'm on my way out. No, I just hit a baseline. I hit start over, reset. And so I had to start back up. Now, words would not be necessary to communicate this feeling to others. That is important that you know that. They will feel the sense of increase when they are in your presence and will be attracted to you. You will draw what you are. You must so impress others that they will feel that in associating with you, they will get increase for themselves. That's right. You know, birds of a feather flock together. Come on, you don't find eagles hanging with chickens, especially when the eagle find out that it's an eagle, it's out. I'm out of here. And your circle tells you a lot about you. Sometimes there comes a point in your life where your circle needs to be so small that it's an exclamation mark standing on this point, you and you alone. And when I say you and you alone, here's an absolute truth to be found in that. You're never alone. That there's a power greater than you. There's a power that's greater than you, that surrounds you, that is in you, the power that is you, a power that you can use. Always aligning yourself with source. Always aligning yourself with God, with Creator. And then you won't have to be competing for wealth. You're creating wealth. Now, I like this. If you always take an honest pride in doing this and let everybody know it, you will always have customers. People will go where they are given increase, and the supreme power or the universe, which desires increase in everything and which knows everything, also will move towards you, men and women who have never heard of you. People who have never heard of you. So I had to get off the Facebook platform as my primary place of presentation. Why? Because somebody who don't have my best interest in mind has created an algorithm that has their best interest in mind. In order for me to get more exposure, I would need to buy more ads. And even that wasn't an assurance. And if you have a message that messes up the masses, that is, wakes them up, that moves them away from the talking heads, they shut you down. So you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You got to be wise as a dove. Come on now, cunning as a fox. Now, so I'm on the YouTube channel. At least gives you more exposure. Those who like me, those who are attracted to me, like me, will find me, will stay with me, stick with me, find value herein. Now, you can do the same thing. Now, people will go where they are given increase. You will be able to make larger combinations to secure greater advantage and to go into more congenial vocation if you desire to do so. Okay, if you are learning how to give the impression of increase, that you bring value. Now, I know my current employer, they are happy that they chose me, but I wasn't the first choice. But because of perseverance, and I stayed in there, and using the law of revision, I wasn't the chosen one. But that afternoon, when I found out they had chosen a candidate, I went into a revision in my mind and envisioned that that maybe it was something I said in the interview that they didn't understand. So I re-envisioned the interview. I re-envisioned the selection process as if I was in the room. And guess what? I got a call back by the HR director saying, hey, the person who it was offered to, strangely enough, they turned the job down. Now, who was the lesson for? Both. One lesson is sometimes your choice may not be the best choice. That's their lesson. My lesson was, if you want something, you don't give up so easily just because it appears as though it's over. It's not over till the no, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. It's not over until she sings though. And the she is you. When you say it's over, it's over. So too many of us give up too easy. Now, he says, in doing this, you must never lose sight of your vision and of what you want or your faith and your purpose. What do you want? Many people can't even express in 30 seconds what it is they desire because they're in the struggle. They're in survival. I'm so busy living that I don't know what I want. And that's okay because we get there. It can come to that. But that's what Oasis Spiritual Center for Divine Living is all about, is you come into the well. And what do people do when they come in the well? They stop. They conversate. They come to the well to get a refreshing. And so when you come out here to Saturday school, it's a place of refreshing. It's a place for a refreshing, a revisiting, a place of expanding, a place of connecting. And so don't lose sight of your vision. And sometimes you lose sight of your vision because someone else has cast a vision that's greater than your vision, the intensity of the vision, your own vision that you have. And just like watching TV, all of a sudden, you wanted a particular car, and all of a sudden you watching TV and they're pushing this kind of car, and now you change from the car you resonate with, what you desire, and now you want that. So where did you get it from? So you got to know the thing you're seeking after, the thing you desire, did it come from the inside or does it come from the outside? That's important. Okay, so he says, let me here give you another word of caution in regard to motives. Motives. Be aware of the insidious temptation to seek power over other people. Now, that's something I tell you all the time. If you have a good or a service, be careful that you're not usurping a level of power, manipulation, or influence over people to get them to buy. People do it all the time. What they call it, clickbaiting. They will put a title on Facebook or a title on the YouTube, but they're not talking about that. They'll allude to that, but they just want to get enough clicks. They're conniving. They're manipulating. I've just wasted 15 minutes of my time with you. So I don't have any value for you anymore. I probably won't come back to your channel because you're clickbaiting. So I'm saying this, you started live. Hey, let people know I'm out here every day at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock comes. Don't wait till 10:05. I got to wait for the room to populate. That tells me what your motives is. Okay. You want the numbers. Okay. Now we all want numbers, but the numbers should not be the driver. The driver is the disseminating of information. If they come in 15 minutes late, guess what? They can circle back and get the replay. You can't recapture time. So make the best use of your time and show other people that you value their time. People are not stupid or foolish. They know when you're wasting time. You know when you're being patronized. So like this morning, I'm going back to the store to get my money back. I had some furniture delivered. It wasn't the right pieces. They took some of them back and ultimately found out they were not going to be able to give me what I wanted. And then they tried to talk around circles, but I listened well. And I really smoked them out and found out that they couldn't even guarantee that I would have my bedroom set by December. So I said, I can do one better than that. I can get my money back. So I've waited a week. Now I'm going to the store this morning. I ain't going there to turn over nothing, cuss, and do anything, because I'll be in St. Charles and I don't want the police to be, because they come in the room, you know who they're looking for, me. So I'm going there and I'm just going to talk to them, but I'm going to leave there with my money. So I don't know how I got you there, but that was somebody. Don't let people do and say anything to you. All right. Okay. He said, let me give you another. Oh, we're talking about motives. Be aware of the insidious temptation to seek power over other people. Now, you got to be conscious of that. And so if I make an appeal, when I offer something, when I make a request, I want to make sure I'm doing it in my eye. I want to make sure I'm doing it the right way. I don't want to make somebody feel bad to give or to support or to join. A lot of times people say, I didn't even know you had that, you was on YouTube or you were doing it, because in the right time, you're going to find out. And if you really follow me, I do send out enough emails that just tell me that you didn't know because you didn't read, because it's become so, you get so inundated with so much information, but you got to set whose stuff has a priority for me, who has historically had my best interest in mind, and make sure their stuff get through and make sure you read their stuff. That's important. Now, he says, let me give you a word of caution. You don't want to have power over other people. That's not what you sent here to do. You don't want to manipulate other people. Don't sell something you don't believe in. You wouldn't use yourself. As a recruiter, I was a top recruiter, a job that most people didn't want. Selling contracts for people to give 8 years of their life, 4 active and 4 in reserves. Selling them something. But I only sold it because I believed in it. I believed in the United States Navy and what it had to offer. It had been good by me. So I sold it. And I never put a person in the military who didn't really know what they were about to get into. They knew not only what was going to happen when they signed a contract, they knew what was going to happen, and they knew what they need to do to get where they wanted to get inside of the USN, because that's what was done to me. So I didn't manipulate. Most salespeople, most politicians, most lawyers are looked at as liars or people with low integrity. Just be truthful, because that's how they make their bacon, by selling you or presenting you with what is the most advantageous for them. Now, he go on. We're just about through this morning. He says, nothing is so pleasant to the unformed or partial developed mind as the exercise of power or domination over other people. That's the easy way out. The desire to rule for selfish gratification has been the curse of the world. For countless ages, kings and lords have drenched the earth with blood in battle to extend their dominions. They have not engaged in an effort to seek more life for all, but to get more power for themselves. Now, that only comes from one cradle of civilization. When you look at, I'm using the Diop's, the great philosopher Diop. He talked about the northern cradle civilization and the southern cradle civilization, which represents more of the African continent, where the earth and that whole environment was conducive to sharing and caring, to the northern cradle, which was not a environment that was conducive to sharing and caring. It was about competing. It wasn't about creating. It was about taking from. And so that whole mindset filtrated and put the world in the spin that it's in today. And many of us, people of the sun, we have taken on the same mindset. I got to compete. I can't share with anybody what I have because they'll get what I'm supposed to be getting. No one can get what is designed for you if you're holding the intentions for you, for that thing. If you don't hold the intention, it may drift off. And guess what? It wasn't meant for you. You weren't ready for it. So we got to be careful of that. Okay. Today, the main motive in business and in industrial world is the same. That is to compete or to manipulate or to persuade, to spend a lot of money in marketing. People marshal their armies of dollars and lay waste to lives and hearts of millions in the same mad scramble for power over other people. Commercial kings. That's a good word. Today, we got a lot of commercial kings, social media commercial kings. Like political kings, they're inspired by the lust of perceived power. He says, Jesus saw in this desire for mastery the moving impulse of that evil world he sought to overthrow. If you read Matthew chapter 23, you see how he pictures the lust of the Pharisees to be called masters, to sit in the high place, to domineer over others, to lay burdens on the backs of the less fortunate. Note how he compares this lust for dominion to the brotherly seeking for common good, to which he calls his disciples. Look out for the temptation to seek authority. So we want to amass wealth and riches, but with wealth and riches comes just an aura of authority. And watch how you use it. Don't act as though you're better than other people. Despise not the time of small beginnings, because when you do get where you ultimately going to get, you can always remember, I was once in their shoes. I once was hoping to get a breakthrough from someone who was more fortunate than I was at that time. And so when you can give a person a breakthrough, give it up. Come on now. I was sitting after I like to share with you little things. I love to eat, so I went to eat breakfast last week at this place in St. Louis. I had parked my car across the street, and so when I came out the restaurant, there was a gentleman standing there. He was asking. I told him I didn't have anything because I operate with cards, and he said, "Thanks, brother." So I walked across the street, got in my car, and Spirit says, "Check your pocket." So I had on a pair of slacks that I hadn't worn in probably about 2 months, and there was a bunch of money in that pocket. And so so he walked by the car, and then he says, "I got anything?" Then I said, "No, I didn't." But then I said, "Wait a minute." I blew my horn. He came back. I reached in my pocket and I gave him everything that I had in my pocket. I didn't know I had it, so I wasn't missing it. So I know there was about a 20 and some other change in there. I gave it to him. And I didn't give it to him, telling him what to go do, what not to do. I didn't give it to him thinking he's going to go hit the pipe or do anything. Hey, I just gave it to him. And guess what? He went right back across the street. He went in the restaurant and he came right out the restaurant. So I asked him, "Hey, is everything okay?" Because I was wondering, because he was homeless, did they turn him away because of the way he looked? And he said, "No, I ordered my food and I told him I'll be back to get it." So you got to look out for other people too, because somebody's looked out for you at some point in your life. So that's important. So, but be careful of the temptation to seek authority and use your authority in the wrong way. He says, look out for the temptation to seek authority, to become a master, to be considered as one who is above the common herd, and to impress others by lavish display. Now, if you have it like that, you don't do it to impress them or make them feel less than, but to show them the possibility you can have it too. And I always tell them, when I run into the young brothers who give me compliments on something I have on, or something I'm driving, or something I'm doing, I say, you can do it too. And sometimes they look at me like, "Yeah, right." And sometimes they say, "Really?" And we'll have a conversation. So I tell them, it's the decisions you make today that are either going to put you in the right position tomorrow or they're not. Last 2 paragraphs. The mind that seeks for mastery over others is the competitive mind. If you're seeking mastery over others, it's a competitive mind. And we're not called to have the competitive mind. We're called to have the creative mind. We're created in His image, after His likeness. God does not compete with us. He creates through us. He says that the mind that seeks for mastery over others is a competitive mind, and the competitive mind is not the creative one. In order to master your environment and your destiny, it is not at all necessary that you should rule over your fellows. To master your world does not require that you rule over anything external to you. It requires that you master self. Self-mastery is the goal. He says, indeed, when you fall into the world struggle for high places, which we all will and can, you begin to be conquered by fate and environment, and getting rich becomes a matter of chance and speculation. Beware of the competitive mind. No better statement of the principle of creation can be formulated than the favorite declaration of the late Golden Rule Jones. And it goes like this: what I want for myself, I want for everybody. Wow. What I want for myself, I want for everybody. I want peace. I want it for you. I want joy. I want it for you. I want prosperity. I want it for you. I want love. I want it for you. I want health. I want it for you. Everything I desire for you. The things that represent source's highest and greatest good for you. It may not be your highest and greatest good to drive S500 Mercedes-Benz, but it is your highest and greatest good in most cases to drive something. So you got to know what it is you should be driving. And for some, that's not in the cards. Then your highest and greatest good that you can get from point A to point B, however that may be, through a bus ticket, through an Uber ride, or a Lyft ride, or a shared ride, or through what? Public transportation. I wish God's highest and greatest good for you. Awesome. Let's see what's going on. If you got a comment in the chat room, for those of you who are on the Facebook Live, you can put your comments below. For those of you who are tuned in right now in the Zoom room, feel free to raise your hand. Let me see. I see a couple hands raised, but I think they was raised from something earlier. But if you got a question this morning, you got a statement, let me just check in with a couple people this morning. Hey, Tia, good to see you. I have unmuted you. And if you still are in a position where you can talk, what is your takeaway this morning? Okay, Minister Tia, you have to unmute yourself if you're still there. Okay, good. I don't have my backroom programmer with me this morning, so I'm doing a couple things. So I really don't want to waste a lot of your time this morning. Someone said light is stronger than shade. Awesome, that is right. Light is always stronger than shade. Light always is able to push back darkness, but there's a place for darkness. Light without darkness, you can't see light. Without light, you can't see darkness. You have to understand the role they play, the balance, the duality, the oneness of it. Because even though we say duality, light, dark, but there is a oneness. It's light, and it's truest expression. The dimmer the light, the darker the light, is one expression of light. The lighter the light, the brighter the light is one expression of light. Even darkness is a form of light. Okay, out of darkness, out of the unseen realm, I call my son. Wow, so that's all I have this morning. Let me look down through here on my Facebook Lives. Good morning, Mr. Burns. I'm glad you tuned in. For those who are on the Facebook feed, if you have something you want to share, feel free to share it. Right now, I encourage you all to consider going to my Facebook page. And if you're on Facebook, hit the links so you can see Oasis Spiritual Center for Divine Living. If you're on YouTube, make sure you're going into the channel, you subscribing, you're looking in the about. And in the about, if you desire to be a blessing, you can do it through PayPal, you can do it through Cash App, or you can go into the website, and there's a giving portal there. It's all secure giving. If you have any questions about anything, please reach out to me. I am Greg Stanton. That is my government name. I go by Asar, and I'll explain to you what that means at some future date. But I bring the light. I bring the smoke, and I want you all to get the light and get the smoke. That's all I have this morning. And remember, every Sunday we start with this song by James Brown. And so we're going to leave this morning with this song. It deals with mind power. It deals with everything you desire to experience. Starts with the mind, the power of the mind. So check it out. You know that if you don't work, you don't eat. Work what? Not with by the sweat of your brow or with the strength of your arms, but work your mind. You can have, do, or be whatever you desire to if you work. Have a wonderful day. You know what?